All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Make Money Mondays, brought to you by the Pinellas County Urban League under our Tampa Bay Anchors Urban Alliance division. Tonight is just a part of our digital learning series, and from 6 to 7, we are going to delve into one of our National Urban League partnership videos to talk about not every path being linear. The goal of Make Money Mondays is, of course, to make more money for our members and for those in our community. So let's dive right into it. Um, the Tampa Bay Anchors Urban Alliance Spring Program lineup is happy to offer this digital learning series. On behalf of our president and CEO, Nikki Gaskin Capehart, want to welcome everyone. Want to invite you to share. We are live via Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube tonight, and want to make sure you see this, you like it, and you share it. Some great information is going to be conveyed. As the community knows, we are well on track for Vision 2030 to go ahead and execute the will of the community. Make Money Mondays, like I mentioned, happens every first and third Monday of the month from 6 to 7 p.m. You can find it on our social media channels, but the third Monday of this month, we will have a subject matter expert on live. But tonight, we're going to tune in to the National Urban League's Digital Career Success Series, where Kimberly Brown and Ramon Smith are really going to get into the concepts of how not every path to success is linear. And so, how do we navigate these career changes? Want to remind everyone that the Tampa Bay Anchors Urban Alliance here at the Urban League is all about bringing together our ecosystem, our employer partners, our resource partners, our institutions, and our investors to bring about programming that is relevant for our audience. Entrepreneur wise, on the business ascension model, we've identified that the visionaries and the luminaries and the launchers and builders in between all have different needs. So I encourage you to stay connected to the Pinellas County Urban League, stay connected to the Tampa Bay Anchors Urban Alliance, because there is indeed something for everyone. All right, let's get right into it. So we will dive into how not every path is linear here, and we'll let these folks get started.
Navigating career changes with Kimberly Brown and Ramon Smith. All right, let's get to it. Kimberly, join the stage. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am very excited to be here. My name is Kimberly Brown. I'm the founder of Brown Leadership, a leadership development company. I'm also the author of Next Move, Best Move, Transitioning into a Career You'll Love, and I'm a keynote speaker. You may have seen my work a bunch of places, journal, NPR, all the fun things. But I'm very excited to be here to answer any and all questions you have.
Network Digital Career Success Series. I've been wanting you on the show for a long time, ever since Debbie told me about you. I knew it had to happen, and I'm glad it's happening in 2026 for Black History Month. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Anytime.
Ramon, please come to the audience, come to the stage. Ramon Smith, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Man, I'm exceptional, man. I've been watching your work, seeing the things that you're doing. You were the ideal person for this conversation as we talk about navigating career paths and things of that nature. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity, everyone, and glad to meet you. I'm a career coach. I'm a solopreneur, entrepreneur. I am a serial platform builder in terms of trying to create career opportunities for people that feel not connected to goals in terms of leading themselves to getting the jobs and building their skills up to get to those jobs. I've been a career coach, a certified digital career strategist for roughly 8 years now. I'm a former academic. I taught at the university and college level as a PhD, and I transitioned and built career as a career coach. And I'm here to just share my information and help and support people with their career goals.
Well, we're happy and excited to have you here today, my friend. I really appreciate you. Thank you so very much. All right, listen, I know you guys have jumped in the chat. You guys have been communicating with me a lot over LinkedIn as well. So the audience, please know that we will have a Q&A probably in about 30 minutes where you can ask your questions of Kimberly and Ramon. So just drop them in the chat and we're going to get moving here. All right, listen, this is about navigating career changes, right? So we're talking about recovering from layoffs, setbacks, career mistakes. Kimberly, what's your thought on some of this?
I think it's a tough time for a lot of folks right now. But I do think that when there's any type of setback, it's just really important that you show how you have the ability to be resilient. I tell folks that when you are redirected, it's not failure. It is truly redirection, bringing you to whatever your next best move is going to be. We can be sad, we can be upset, but I do think that a lot of people we'll talk about today, that there are strategies you can employ to help you bounce back from any of these setbacks.
So we're talking about rebuilding credibility. Like, tell me some steps that people can take just to kind of move in that direction.
So I think if we're talking about a layoff or someone who's been terminated because you've lost your credibility, I think number one is understanding what is the root of the problem. So what happened to begin with? If it was a layoff outside of your control, that's one thing. But if there was something that you did, we need to get crystal clear on what was the success supposed to look like versus what happened, so then we can course correct, because we can't correct things that we're not actually sure about, that we haven't realized, and move forward. And then we build a strategy on, so what was the infraction? Do you need to build more relationships? Do you need to upskill yourself? There's so many different elements of rebuilding, but for a lot of my clients, it's a lot about building better relationships, building sponsorship to help you get to the next level, mentorship, and it could be reskilling, especially if it was a termination situation, or if your job died or anything else that's happening. It's like, how can we make sure that your skills are the most up to date so you can be competitive in the job market?
Man, we hear that a lot on the Digital Career Success Series, people talking about mentorship, sponsorship. And in this conversation, when there's a change, and like you said, if it's a layoff, people can start really feeling bad about themselves, right? And with that being said, how do we know when the setback needs a real redirection?
So I think every setback is different. And it's just important that we acknowledge the reality of the situation. And are you fighting an uphill battle? Or is this something that you just made a mistake and we need to just get back on the horse? It's really just getting clear on what is your unique situation. Every time I work with a client on strategy after a setback, after a redirection, it's like, okay, what do we really want right here, right now? And getting clear on what that is and how can we build a plan to reach our goals again. I know you got to feel bad. I tell my clients, give yourself a timeline of how long you're going to allow yourself to feel bad, how much ice cream you're going to eat, how long you're going to stay in bed, and then when are you going to get up and start taking action?
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Listen, Ramon, it seems like what we're talking about is defining and communicating your core strengths, right? At the core of it, right? As you're out navigating some of these spaces, talk to us a little bit about how people can identify top strengths and really translate that into clear professional narratives.
Yeah, that's a great question. So little background, I've definitely been affected by job losses and forced career course changes. And knowing that was 100% on me, my responsibility to navigate the career that I wanted, I had to learn some things, and I had to learn to upskill and basically be able to put those skills in my nervous system to actually do them. So one of the things I learned, and this goes right into identifying your top strength, is I actually took an aptitude test. I wanted to see what was I naturally good at, as opposed to beating my head against the wall trying to learn a skill that is not within my aptitude, I learned what is aligned with what I can do. And then based on that aptitude test that gave me a whole battery of information that explained my strengths, I just capitalized on them. It's like, I'm good here, good here, good here, good here, good here, good here. And then basically I use those to not only build my skill set, but then also build that much more control over my career in the direction. And that led me to career consulting. So I would definitely say, as a suggestion, if you're capable of doing it, there are free online opportunities for aptitude tests. So you can look for those aptitude tests free online, or you can pay for it the way I did. There's a great place called the Honor Academy. And it usually, I won't out their price, but you guys can research it if you're interested. It's not too expensive, and they run your entire aptitudes. And then they give you a list of careers that you're naturally aligned with. Or one of my big favorites is the invention of online courses in the Coursera, the Udemy's, and in the Udacities. Basically build your skill set that way, as well as good old-fashioned YouTube videos, and see where you can enhance what you can do to make yourself fit for the career that you want.
When I saw the title of this actual slide, personal branding as career management, not self-promotion, I thought it was genius. Can you talk to me a little bit about that mindset?
Myself?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Got it. So basically, it's about contribution. We get recognized in society for our ability to contribute to the domain that we are in. If you're a lawyer and you're a good lawyer, you make contributions to have an impact on that domain, again, depending on what your strengths are. So it's about being able to take what you have, do that internal assessment, and say, okay, what can I offer in my domain, whether it's career development, law, tech, whatever, healthcare, whatever that domain is, and being able to continue up and have an influence.
I love it. Kimberly, I want to bring you into the conversation here because I see your servant leadership style. You're always out here. I see you sharing on stages and platforms and giving back. You're here today doing the same thing. Talk to us about when people are in that career change space, when they're in that window, how they can kind of take control of that and still offer value to others.
So I think the word I like to use is connection. How can you connect with people, connect with opportunities, connect your skills? I think that time when you are in the bridge between like where you currently are and where you're going, I always will tell folks it's time to get involved in a professional association. That is the time, whether you are giving back and mentoring others, whether you are volunteering to do a workshop, whether you are you volunteer to serve on a board, that is the time. I think that too many times we want to really cold pitch our skills and hope that that will make a connection, but you have to build a lot of relationship capital in order to cold pitch and make it work. Like, prime example, Kenneth, you and I've seen you on the internet for a very long time, literally for years. And we have talked online. So when you reached out, it was a no-brainer. Yes, make it work. No questions asked. If you were a stranger danger and I'd never seen you before, I'd be like, I'm not really sure if I have the bandwidth today. Like, I'm literally doing this in between multiple calls today, and it's the last day of a launch I'm doing for my company. And I'm like, I'm going to make it work. But it's because we have relationship capital, we can do that. The job hunt and being career transition is the same way. If you have not built any relationship capital and can't tap into resources you've already been pouring into, this is your time to do some of that. So whether you can mentor others who are a few steps behind you, whether you can volunteer in a professional organization, share knowledge that you have, connect with communities that can potentially help you make your next move into another organization.
I love what you shared. It's interesting how, you can see people doing the work on other platforms or just out here in general. And you can say, you know what, I can lock in and be supportive with that because they're adding value in places as well. This is Navigate, Not Every Path is Linear, Navigating Career Changes. Kimberly Brown, Ramon Smith. Ramon, I want to bring you into the conversation, my friend. You were speaking about the assessments, and thank you so very much for sharing that people can find different assessments online. Once you take the assessments, is there a process that you use to kind of move forward from there?
Yeah. So again, just to share the anecdote, what I did was I took that assessment and I kept it, and then I analyzed it. It was a printout sheet, and then I wrote down again what are my strengths and what are my not so strong parts of my DNA functional makeup. And basically, again, I just focused on the strong parts, and then I basically learned to just increase them. So, for example, I'm not a natural analytical thinker, but I am a natural deductive thinker. So everything I do is processed through my deductive reasoning skills and thinking skills. And then I learn how to, if necessary, be that much more analytical. I use tools such as AI. So again, knowing where you are, and this is how it translates into, quite frankly, increasing the control that we all want over our careers. When you know what you're able to do, and you commit to ongoing skill development and personal and professional development, you're actually putting yourself in a position where you can land into the domain that you want, and then be able to maximize that and get out of it. And then you also have final foresight, and the better you get at it, and you pour yourself into it, the more you're able to see what's happening. Knowing that this administration, as a career coach, knowing that this administration from the election 2 years ago, I knew there were going to be serious changes in the job market. And so I was able to build my career based on those changes and be able to anticipate that and more importantly, make contributions, positive contributions.
I love it. You know, Kimberly, when we talk about building skills around, what we're actually interested and good at doing, that's all fine. We're sitting on that as foundational, but we have to start building relationships, right? So I know you often speak about cultivating fruitful relationships out here in the space. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So my favorite chapter in my book, it kind of breaks down the types of relationships that you need, because I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make in relationship building is that we tell people, go network, like go outside, go meet some people. We give no clarification on who, what, where, when, how. So I tell folks you need a certain amount of relationships. So you need like your peers, like the people in your industry aligned to the work that you do. You need to be able to benchmark in different companies, like who's doing what. You need coaches. You need people who are able to teach you things in a safe environment so you can test your skills. So for example, when I was interviewing for jobs back when I worked in higher education, I had coaches who would poke holes in my presentations, because when you get to a certain level in higher ed, you always have to present to a team. And I had those folks, they poked holes, made me do it again and again and again until I got it down. You need mentors who've been there and done that and can talk to you about like the day-to-day nuances of the work that you're doing. And you need sponsors. And so those are the folks who can pick you up from where you are and bring you to where you rightfully belong. And I tell folks, I feel like you need at least 2 to 3 folks in each of those categories, and that those folks can change and evolve over time. So the mentor you need right now, maybe in 3 to 4 years, you need someone different. And it's okay to navigate and move and find new relationships when you've kind of outgrown, because that's okay. That just means you're growing and evolving. You may not have the same mentor for 10 years, and that's a-okay. But I think making sure that you have relationships that fit what you need. So if you're someone who's currently in transition, you need sponsors. You need sponsors who can advocate for you as you're applying to new roles.
I'm laughing to myself about you bringing this up. So I reached out this morning to a gentleman that kind of introduced me to executive search. And it was really because I reached out to him and I said, hey, we haven't spoken in a while. He introduced me to executive search nearly 30 years ago. And he said, we texted last week. I'm like, I don't care about that. I need to talk to you today, right? So you can have them that they can be long-term, they can be short-term, but I think what I'm hearing in the message is have people that you can bounce ideas off of and think about.
That serve your goals right now. So it's lovely that you've kept it. That's amazing.
I love it. Listen, you need to tell us a little about this book real quick. You get in there, and I'm like, oh, hold on, there's a book that's involved here. I know Ramon has a book, and we'll see something about that a little later. But tell us about the book.
Yeah, so I published a book in 2021 called Next Move, Best Move, Transitioning into Real Love. After serving as a career coach for almost 10 years in higher ed, I joke and say I work with everyone age 18 who doesn't know what to do with their life, all the way through folks who are in their 50s and 60s and finally want to have a career that brings them joy. I put all of that knowledge into a book. So it goes through clarifying who you are, your core values. It talks about relationship building, salary negotiation. Essentially, it's like having a career coach in your pocket. I know that not a lot of folks, I know like Ramon and I, we know about career coaching because this is what we do, but a lot of folks haven't hired a career coach before. So the book is really, if you want a career coach and maybe it's not in the budget right now, or you want to explore some concepts of what it's like to work with a coach, especially on career transition and clarifying your personal brand, that's what my book is all about.
Man, I love it. Listen, are there any other resources that you kind of lean into that you may suggest to people that are kind of navigating this career change space right now?
So I really love the strengths profile assessments. I know Ramon mentioned some assessments as well, but one of my favorites is Strengths Profile by Capfinity. I feel like a lot of people don't know how to really tap in and talk about what they're good at. I had an interview a long time ago. Like, I really think this was maybe 2011. I remember they asked me, what are your greatest strengths and your weaknesses? And I said, I gave like 3 standard strengths. And I was like, okay. And the person who was interviewed was like, that's all you got? Like, you're not good at anything else? After I picked my jaw up off the floor, I hummed and hawed. I got the job, mind you, but I definitely hummed and hawed in that moment. And that really taught me, even especially now as a business owner, you have to be able to speak about yourself in a positive light. You have to be really clear on who you are and what you do and what you bring to this world and the experience someone gets when they hire you. So I love any assessment. Strengths Profile is one of my favorites. Strengths Finders also a good one, but I feel like that will give you the language. If you're someone who's maybe introverted and you don't want to talk too long or say too much, take an assessment that talks about your strengths so you can borrow that language in your interviews.
Yeah. Do you find, Ramon, this might be a question for you. Are you finding that people are using some of the AI platforms to coach them through this process?
In some cases, yeah. And shout out to Kimberly. I'm a former academic, as I mentioned as well. So yes, it seems to be a natural progression to come from higher education to coaching. So I see that a lot now. But yeah, I think that it depends. It depends on the industry. I think if someone is already embedded in the tech industry, and I primarily work with people in the tech industry, there is a natural living in the space of AI and using it. But then people in other industries, there still seems to be a taboo or a sense of a lack of confidence that they can interface with it. So one of the things I do in my practice is I, particularly with people that have that fear of AI, is to show them step by step and simplify the process and show them how they can not only engage it, but get something out of it. So in my practice, I like to strip things down to 3 core objectives: resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and the job search strategy. And those are my expertises. And basically when I'm doing that, particularly when it comes to job searching, I'm handing someone the keys and the strategy over to how to use AI to be able to to generate a map of jobs you can apply to that are appropriate for you. So yeah, it depends.
Kimberly recently spoke about networking. Are you incorporating that into the efforts as well?
Yeah, I'm incorporating networking. So shameless plug, I do have a book as well on how to use LinkedIn for networking, for job placements and referrals. But I also do this. I try to have the people I'm working with become that much more autonomous and confident and what they're bringing to the table, so that they're offering something when they network as opposed to asking for something. So we really have that discussion about what are your strengths, to Kimberly's point, what are the strengths you're bringing, and what can you offer and contribute to what an employer or a colleague is looking for that can increase the chances of you having some type of employment partnership with them.
Hey, Kimberly, you know, I'm hearing a lot of talk online and offline about leadership presence. And as people start to navigate their changes, can you talk to me about the importance of leadership presence as it relates to even non-leaders, right? People that are just trying to find a space for them in these changing times that Ramon spoke about as far as the workplace is concerned. Can you talk to me about how leadership presence and comes into play?
Definitely. And I love that you kind of said, even for non-leaders, I think when we hear words like leadership presence, when we hear the word executive presence, the first thing people do is say, well, I'm not an executive, I'm not a leader. But really we're just talking about, I joke and say it's like the essence of your brand, the feeling that you give. So my clients always laugh at me because I always say, I'm going to give you Kimberly Brown experience no matter where I go. Like, you are going to experience, I'm going to teach you, coach you. It doesn't matter if you have me for 10 minutes or 2 hours. Like, that is a part of my presence and my brand. And I think that I ask my clients all the time, how do people feel when they interact with you? In an interview setting, when you're stressed out, when you're managing a team, when you're receiving feedback from a manager, what does that feel like? And that's really your presence. And I think when we think about the elements of executive presence, which I think everybody needs to have, not even if you're an executive, like, period, it's the gravitas, it's having great communication, it's having knowledgeable skills and being able to confidently communicate who you are and what you bring. And I think they just need to be looked at as career skills, and being competent and confident in your own competence and allowing someone else to experience that when they interact with you, whether it's a networking conversation or whether it's a job interview.
You know, Ramon, I'm thinking about what Kimberly's speaking on, and I'm just wondering, in your work doing outplacement work, when people come to you, as we spoke about earlier, sometimes their ego, confidence, whatever, may be a little shaken. How do you kind of get them back on the path to sounding and communicating effectively and sounding like a leader as they go to navigate an interview and have other job opportunities presented?
Yeah, great question. So first, we go through the standard process of interview prep and having someone practice so that they can get that confidence back. But again, going back to what I try to emphasize on is to really help them build themselves up to recognize what they offer a employer. And so that is less of an interview and more of a business discussion. And so you're operating from a position of strength as opposed to thinking that you're operating from a deficit. So there's that strategy, but also at the same time, also realizing that a job loss is not a death sentence. It's actually an opportunity in disguise. So trying to change that perspective. It is not a evaluation on your value. A job loss is not an evaluation on your value. It's how we interpret it. So basically it becomes an opportunity to, again, either upskill if necessary, do that diagnosis to say, okay, that Kimberly referred to early on when we began, you know, what took place, how can I improve, et cetera, et cetera. And then basically look to improve that. And then again, when you're in these business meetings, when you're in these interviews, you're offering what you can bring to the overall good of what the company or the organization is looking for.
Wow, I appreciate it. Listen, it's the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. Ramon Smith, Kimberly Brown, navigating, not every path is linear, navigating career changes. Listen, I know you guys have questions. Please do not hesitate to drop them into the chat. We will have a Q&A shortly. Also, you're probably wondering where you can get the replay of this, and that is easy. You can catch it on our YouTube channel. This and each and every episode of the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series can be found there on YouTube, uljobsnetwork.com. All right, Ramon, you speak about visibility, my friend, and this is all about visibility today, right? But you're speaking about everyday actions. So building visibility and influence through everyday actions. Talk to me a little more about this.
Yeah, great. So you have to feel as though you have to get something done every day. Now, that doesn't mean you have to tackle big projects to get things every day, but it does mean setting and establishing a project and doing something daily to achieve that. And that could be an entrepreneurial endeavor, or it could be something that could be used to enhance your visibility as well as your appeal to potential employers. So the day-to-day practice of making sure you're getting something done, and here's the key point: it's not just energy wasting. I'm going through these endless checklists of tasks. It's identifying, drilling down, and constricting and identifying what's in alignment to what I'm trying to achieve. And then you focus on those things. And then that gives you also the practice gives you the clarity to be able to make those contributions, which overline when I teach people in LinkedIn, those contributions and those actions increase, that algorithm pushes your visibility to the top, and you'll eventually get noticed.
I love it. Hey, Kimberly, listen, this is going to sound familiar to you. You don't need more time. You need a plan. Talk to us about the beginning process to planning out next steps and how to move forward in this.
So one of my favorite exercises to do with my clients is called the ideal day. So Ramon, you probably have your own. I feel like every coach has their own version of the ideal day, like your 10x vision, 10x versus 2x. We all do the same thing. But I think before you get into any plan, I think the mistake that most people make, they will plan for everything else in their lives but their career. And they will take all the time in the world to plan out how to, I'm moving next week. I will plan every room with precision, all the measurements and everything, but people don't plan for their careers. So the first thing I have them do is the ideal day. And I want them to envision, what does success look like in a defined period? I love to do 2 years. So I think 2 years is reasonable. It's not too far. It's very tangible. We can reverse engineer it very easily. But when they wake up, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go back to sleep, the projects they're assigned to, what does it feel like day to day? And I want people to understand and really step into that. I've had clients who got a little emotional because what I love to do is ask them all the questions and then I read it back to them like it's their own story. And then realize, how do you feel when you wake up and this is the day? To get people excited, because you have to create a vision so clear that your fears become irrelevant and it evokes emotion and you are excited and passionate about it. And then you can reverse engineer a plan step by step. So when I have my clients create that 2-year vision, then we go back and we do 6-month increments. So what are we working on for the first 6 months, second 6 months, after that? So sorry, my do not disturb is not working. That was my husband calling. That's how I have my clients reverse engineer their plan so that they can be excited. You have to be excited about the plan. And I think that a lot of people overlook that when they're building it.
Man, I'm going to stay here with you for a second because I want you to talk about the visibility shift.
Yeah, so the visibility shift, it is my new program about public speaking. And because I believe that when you're building your brand, I believe public speaking is one of the best ways to build your career and to build your visibility and increase your like, know, trust factor. So for me, early on in higher ed, I went from working at smaller unknown colleges to working at 2 of the nation's top universities. I worked at both Princeton and Columbia, and I got those jobs exclusively from public speaking. I met the stakeholders there, built their relationships, and was invited to apply for various jobs at the university and move through. When I worked in corporate HR at American Express, I built relationships again in professional organizations that helped me get through that interview process. And now as a business owner, I make the best connections through public speaking. And that is what helps me increase my leads and close my sales. So I'm teaching folks in the visibility shift how to clarify what is their unique X factor, how do they craft a framework that is teachable, and then how do they find high visibility rooms that they can speak in. And speaking isn't just about getting paid for it. Sometimes it's just about building your personal brand and increasing your relationship capital.
You also make amazing content. You're a great follow on LinkedIn. If you're not following Kimberly Brown and Ramon Smith, actually, on LinkedIn, you're probably missing out. They're both giving great information. Ramon, I want to talk about this. I know when we first started talking about this conversation, you mentioned that you kind of have a career story that aligns very well with this topic. You want to share a little bit about this?
Yeah. Again, all career paths are not linear. So very quickly, I remember graduating from college a millennium ago. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm a 90s guy. I still listen to 90s hip hop. So
Join
yeah. I remember seeing Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac together on stage in '93. Another story. And I thought, and I had a degree in sociology, and then I went into social work, and then I got my first master's degree in political science, and that was the segue that allowed me to transition to higher ed. And I mentioned the just thing and the 90s thing because during that time, we as students and college students, we revered our professors. And we thought like the whole PhD thing and teaching was like the greatest thing, the greatest career to have. And for some it is. And that was actually part of my aptitude. I am a natural teacher. But after 12, 15 years in the higher ed industry, I started to not like it. And based on not liking it, I didn't, I'm going to be very candid. I didn't like the nepotism. I didn't like the favoritism. I didn't like how projects that I could do went to colleagues that I felt I did better. And that's not out of arrogance, but I felt that I could have done an effective job. And basically use that experience instead of being frustrated. In the moment I was frustrated, I'm human. But using that as a catalyst to say, okay, again, what do I need to improve on in order to generate the career I want? And then even when I got to the PhD stage and I finished my PhD work, and that was hard. Completing the PhD work was hard. I have a lot of respect for people that go through PhD cohorts. Again, yeah, I was the only Black male. I remember starting that cohort, and there were 14 of us, and I was the only American Black male there. By the time we graduated and finished, there was only 5 of us, and everyone else was not a Black male. Let's just say that. In fact, every one of us was not even a Black female. So I was the only brother, so to speak, that got through it. And I thought that I was going to, and I'll sum up with this, my friend. I thought that was going to just extend my my career into higher ed, but then I kept coming up against that internal not liking of higher ed anymore, or felt that it already served the purpose. And then I remembered something, that when my PhD is in information studies, and I remember something one of my professors said: people will pay you if you can provide them with information that they can't access. And that kind of became the motivation to be able to have information to present to people. And again, recognizing that the career development in the workforce industry was going to start changes. It was a natural pivot for me to career coaching and being able to provide that service and being able to feel as though I'm making a contribution in those areas.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that. You know, it's, as a recruiter, I'm often on the other side of a conversation that sounds like, hey, I just lost my job, I need you. It's not necessarily the work we do at East Coast Executives. We work as a retained search firm. However, I always feel for people in that situation. So to not compound it, I'd say congratulations. And they're always shocked when I say congratulations, but I really do believe it, because oftentimes when you're navigating a career change, your initial career was a career that was chosen for you by opportunity. You may have went to a job fair, you ran into a company that said, hey, we're looking for someone. All right, so now you're in finance, right? Now it's a finance career for you. But this is your chance to really trek out onto your own career journey and career path and do the things that you want to do, and do the things that align with kind of the mission that you've set forth for yourself. And I think it's just such a powerful space. So for anybody out there that's navigating a career change and is due to a layoff or any other reason, please don't feel bad for yourself. It's a trying time. As Kimberly had mentioned, time out the ice cream visits, figure out when you're going to stop doing that. But eventually, you're going to have to take a look at what it is that you want to do and how you want to show up each and every day in your workspace. And trust me, there are opportunities out there for you. You just have to be very strategic and very visible and very committed, as Ramon was speaking about. So with that being said, I just wanted to add that. We're going to go into Q&A. Thank you all for leaving some questions for us to ask our esteemed panelists. I'm going to jump into some of these right now. Listen, we don't have a lot, so today is the day for you to get your question answered. But I'm going to start with Ellen, and she wants to know, how do we effectively and efficiently build relationship capital, and is social media helpful? Kimberly, you want to start that out?
Sure, happy to. So when it comes to building relationship capital, first I want to say that there's an online component and there's an offline component. So if you want to consistently produce content, connect with folks, comment, share, engage, and the key here is consistent, yes, you can use social media. But I do think, and I'm a geriatric millennial, I'll say that. I think that nothing combats meeting in person. I do think to build that relationship capital, you have to strategically get time. I've had friends online for years, and when we met in person, if you thought we were close before, when we met in person, it took it to the next level. So I think that once you determine what type of relationships that you need, when you're looking to build that relationship capital, it's like, what do you need? Is it sponsors, mentors, coaches, teachers, peers? What is it that you need a relationship with? And then how can you put the time in? I love to teach my clients in the same way that you start dating someone, right? When you go on that first date, like they always joke and say you want to do different things. You want to do a date where you do an activity, ideally where that person's kind of bad at it, so you can see how they work under stress. You want to have tough conversations. You want to do casual dates. You want to see them in front of your friends, the friend that's a jerk. And then you want to see the friend who's super nice and talks too much. Then you want to be with your family. You have to really build a relationship. It's quick coffee meetings, lunch meetings, dinner meetings. It's hopping on a quick call. Kenneth mentioned, like, I need to talk to my mentor just real quick. Like, it's building that capital over time before you go and take a withdrawal. So it takes good, consistent effort in person and online to make the relationships truly work for you.
Man, shout out to your husband, man. He went through that gauntlet. Man, he had to do all of this, all that work. I see why he just called you. He's checking in.
He's the only one where my do not serve does not work.
Hey, Ramon, I want you to chime in here. Listen.
Yeah, your husband earned it, yes.
So Ramon, like people using social media to tap in and build relationship capital. Give me your thoughts on that, or just give me your thoughts on building relationship capital in general.
Yeah, definitely. I think KB shared most of it, but I'll just give my quick little piece to it. I primarily use LinkedIn. I'm not a big social media person. I retired from Facebook a while ago, more than a year or so ago, again, because it just was not contributing to what I wanted to do. It wasn't in line with where my focus and my discipline was in terms of building my career and going in the direction I want. I love LinkedIn though. I am a big fan of LinkedIn. In fact, I'm a certified digital career strategist, which is a fancy title for saying I'm really good on LinkedIn. I was trained on it and I teach people how to use it effectively. So when that professional executive career networking capital on LinkedIn, you want to make connections with people, with your peers, and with prospective employers, hiring managers, recruiters, and CEO and bosses of places that you have ideas that you want to work. again, you want to always contribute something. You want to always showcase your ability to do the role, or showcase that you're learning the role and that you want to keep that person in your network so they can watch your progress. One of the things I always share with the people I work with, whether they're clients or students, is to post your projects. Post your projects, post your, if you completed a course, post it. If you go back, and I'll be happy to share my LinkedIn page because I profile, because I want people to connect with me.
We got you.
Yeah, got it. Nice. I want everyone to feel as though when they complete something, first you get that dopamine hit, that chemical in your brain that makes you feel good and gives you motivation and inspiration. And then when it's acknowledged by your peers, then basically it keeps you going. But it also, in the weird way of how social media works, it puts you eventually in a position where you're seen by the right people. So the more you're active on it, I'll end with this, the more active you're on it, you'll get something out of it, particularly if you're not active, then that's when your profile looks like an abandoned website.
I got you. All right, listen, we're gonna get this question in from Ramona. How are sponsorships sought, and how do you identify the most appropriate sponsor? Kimberly, talk to us.
So I teach my clients that sponsorships, in order for them to work for you, they have to have power in the room that you need to be in. And in order for you to understand the room that you need to be in, you need to be very clear on your vision and what your goal is. The sponsors, by definition, they have influence and power, which a lot of times means what they don't have is time. So you have to be clear on who you are, what you want, and how you can activate them so you can have a very, very specific ask. So once you're clear on your goals, you know where the power is in the room. And I'm big on, I want the person who makes the decision. I don't want the person who's got to still ask for permission. So where is that person so that you can get a yes, a no, an introduction, or whatever it is? If, let's say, you can't get to that person, you need to work your way up. Let's say you don't have an immediate ask, you have time. I love to meet with the direct reports of the sponsor who I want. So then all the direct reports can then introduce me later. If I know it's the long game for a goal, then they're already building that relationship capital for me. They're building advocacy for me, and they're sharing who I am with the ultimate sponsor. And I built new relationships all along the way. So once you know who that person is, it's how can you get an introduction? I love having someone else introduce me to the person, or finding something in common. So I know Ramon was talking about being a LinkedIn expert. One of the things I learned in my early career days was using the LinkedIn alumni tool. I love going to my alma mater and seeing, how can I be connected? Is there anyone there? Is there anything in common we have so that I can get an introduction? Let's say you can't get an introduction. Then the next thing I'm going to tell you to do is, how can you get in the room with them? Are they speaking at an event? Are they at a conference? Is there something that they're doing? I don't care if, honestly, if you have to catch them walking out the bathroom. Like if you're on that floor, like working, there's a little working area in the office. How can you catch them to have that conversation and then take it from there? I also think, don't try to boil the ocean with the time with the sponsor. This is a delicate relationship. You want to make sure that they believe in you and trust you, so you don't get a lukewarm referral. You want a strong referral. So start small. Start with a 15-minute coffee date. Start with a quick question and build your way up to making an ask. Because again, you may get someone who trusts you, and they're like no trust because of who you are. Maybe you had a great referral. They may refer you, but it's like, I just met Ramon today. Right? I know him off the strength of Kenneth. He wouldn't be here if he didn't know his stuff. So if I were to for Ramon, we spoke on an event together. I know he knows Kenneth. So I know he's got to be solid. He's got to be great. But if Kenneth and I had lunch together, we had a phone call together, we're going to get connected on LinkedIn after that. Stay tuned for the request. If we're talking over time, I'm going to know his work style. I'm going to know what his expertise is. I'm probably going to read a book. That referral is going to be 10 times better than if I were to give it today. And that's the type of referral or the ask that you want to be able to make of your sponsor. So just take the time to build a relationship if you can.
I appreciate that answer. And I think you shared enough to answer PT's question. PT, listen, if that person doesn't want to be your sponsor, they're not your sponsor. It's really as simple as that, my friend. So, you can't force someone to be your sponsor. If they don't want to do it, they're probably not the person to do it. All right, I want to jump into this question from Katina. what's the best way to market yourself and or use these tools when you have a gap in employment? Ramon, I want you to kind of take this from the LinkedIn perspective.
Yes, exactly. So basically, one of the best ways to market yourself when you have a gap in your employment is, again, to work on projects, and to upskill, take online courses. Again, I'm a big fan of online courses. I remember when Coursera first came on the scene back in 2012. I like to think I was one of the persons that used services and was able to build up my skill set. But again, like, gaps in employment and job losses are not dead ends. They're actually opportunities to start and go in a direction that you want. So with that said, like, again, projects and online courses allow us to fill those gaps. One automatic way to look good on your resume and for an employer to fill that so-called gap is to say you trained, you learned, you went to school, you got something out of that time. And then you're able to demonstrate that. So that almost for an interviewer, if you say that, the work gap goes away right away. It's not even important in their thought process because they're looking for someone to do the job. And as long as you're consistently showcasing that, that's what's important to them.
And listen, what I've seen in my experience through recruiting is that gaps aren't looked at like they were looked at even 5-10 years ago. We've experienced COVID. There's been mass layoffs. Recruiters and talent and hiring managers understand that occasionally there may be a gap in your employment. But I think to Ramon's point, what were you doing in the gap? Were you still active, or did you just fall off the face of the earth? So stay active on LinkedIn. Add some value in one of the areas that you can add value in.
And very quickly, Kenneth, just to very quickly add to that, exactly. This is not, again, the 90s, where you were expected to be on the job, for 400 years and, get your gold star and retire. No, there's an expectation that there's going to be shifts in the market, especially because of the tech innovations that have taken place. So take advantage of it and be able to put yourself always in a position where you can be a contributor and also be in value for that particular role. So there's tons of opportunities to be able to take advantage of that.
Indeed. Next question, Kimberly, real quick. What's the best process to get speaking gigs?
So the first thing I want to know is who you want to speak. What is your goal of speaking? Because that dramatically changes the type of gigs that you should be going after. Are you looking to make money? Are you looking to build a relationship? Are you looking to get exposure in a certain area? So I think once you clarify the end goal, then we can reverse engineer. And I think that engagements come through cold pitching, referrals, or relationships. So you can pitch yourself to an organization. You can get a referral to an organization, or you can build a relationship in order to get an introduction to a speaking engagement opportunity. But the key for speaking engagements, I think a lot of speakers don't pay attention to, is how do you craft a really great pitch that is not about you, but it's about the audience you want to serve. I think a lot of times speakers want to be very much like, I, this is what I did. This is who I am. This is why I'm great. You should hear me. But it's really, what is the transformation the audience is going to have after hearing you speak, and crafting a pitch. And that will significantly increase the amount of engagements you land when you're pitching, whether it's cold pitch, referral, or relationship, because you're focusing on the audience and how they'll be transformed.
Appreciate you. Ramon, real quick, any books you recommend for public speaking?
For public speaking, oh my God, no.
I'll tell you what, let's do this. Any books you recommend at all in the career space?
I do, but I do want to say, again, I want to defer to my esteemed colleague, Kimberly B, because for public speaking, that basically would be the expertise there. So I want to give that sunshine to her. I do actually have quite a few books. If it's okay, I could put them in the chat, the links in the chat for career development.
I love it. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to try to get to one more question here. And 30 seconds or less, if both of you guys can chime in. Networking, this is the networking question. Networking seems to run out after a point beyond first level connections, personal contacts, and former colleagues. What are effective strategies to build new networks in these situations, especially for those who are not natural salespeople?
Happy to start. Join a professional association.
Yes.
That's literally it. Join a professional organization so that you can be around other new people. And there's so many for any industry that you're in that you can join to start building those relationships.
Ramon. I'm going to jump in real quick. Listen, you can always ask your first degree connections if they know anyone else that you need to meet, or if there's anybody else that you need to speak to, or who they're following on LinkedIn and things of that nature. That's your resource. Use it. All right. Look, we're going to jump in real quick. Ramon, you got something?
Actually, just to support what you just said. So yeah, that would be the path in the methodology to use. Exactly.
Man, listen, I want to thank both of you guys for joining us today. This has been amazing, but I do want to offer you the opportunity to share closing remarks with our audience. Kimberly, I'm going to start with you. Any closing remarks that you'd like to share?
Just thank you so much for having me. I had such a good time today. And I think that I really love the theme that we really went back to, is that whether you're laid off, whether you got terminated, whether you're just in the midst of a career transition, I want you to be encouraged. I want you to know that this is just a time, and how you come through this time is going to make you stronger on the other side. One of my favorite books is, is by Elizabeth Lester, How Difficult Times Help Us Grow. And they talk about in that book how you have the opportunity to see how low you could sink when you're going through something bad, or you can use that process as a metamorphosis. So I encourage you to go the latter. Who is the person that you will become from this hard time and be transformed on the other side?
I appreciate you. Ramon Smith, any closing remarks for our audience, sir?
Yes. Again, thanks for allowing me to be a part of this panel and have this discussion. I'm humbled. Basically, just always feel as though you're building your value and you have value that you can bring to the marketplace. Again, look at every obstacle as an opportunity to either upskill, build something in your character, build a skill set, and be able to target the direction that you want to go. Use old-fashioned technologies such as, I know we're in a high-tech AI age, but use old-fashioned technology like a pen and a paper. And I do this quite often. Every now and then when I need to take away the cognitive load and just focus on what I need to do, I take a pen, sheet of paper, and I write down what's the most important thing that needs to get done now. So yeah, use that to be able to build the steps necessary to achieve those goals. And my final words, just never accept no for an answer. And what that means is not just from an employer or things like that, but not even from yourself. You know, tell yourself like, okay, this sucks, but you know what? I'm taking a step today towards what I want.
I love it.
And you see that you build the momentum.
I love it.
All right. So hopefully you all got something from this great panel. If not, go back, replay it, please share it. Again, this digital workshop series can be found on our Facebook, our YouTube channel, and our LinkedIn channel, Pinellas County Urban League. Want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we hope to catch you all at the next Make Money Mondays. Catch us every first and third Monday of the month, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.